Originally announced in 2021, the first Project Ill footage showcased graphic human-like monsters and glimpses of first-person shooter combat. It's running on Unreal Engine 5, with the team focusing on real-time body transformations, dismemberment, and interactive environments filled with physics objects. Even without a ton of information out there, its visual fidelity and creature design has piqued the interest of survival horror fans. In a genre where zombie games dominate, Greyhill Incident is diverging from the trends by placing you in a small town in the 90s as you take over a regular Joe trying to survive an alien invasion. You need to work with your neighbors to find supplies, equip yourselves, and fight back, or run for your lives. It essentially looks like you're playing from the point of view as the humans and destroy all humans. A much-anticipated sequel to The Forest, Sons of the Forest will involve plenty of cave and land exploration as players attempt to survive a slew of terrifying humanoid creatures. Much like the first, this new installment will focus heavily on being self-sufficient as you escape the horde, grow your own food, build your own camp, and lay traps to get a better night's sleep. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the most iconic pieces of horror fiction in modern history, and it receiving a video game adaptation is long overdue. In the game, you can either take the role of one of the terrifying Slaughter family members, or fight for survival as one of their would-be victim. The gameplay looks to be in the same vein as the Friday the 13th video game, where one player is the killer and the other players are the survivors who need to plot a way to take the big bad down. HumanitZ is a unique top-down zombie survival game. It allows you to freely explore a large world and choose how you and your mates want to survive. You can craft, farm, hunt, or scavenge as necessary. Stick to the country where the zombies may be few and far between, just as the supplies you may need to survive will be, or attempt to enter a larger city that's overflowing with what you need to survive, but can also bring death just as easily.
Okay, Doctor. See you soon.
Goodbye.
Dark Moonlight is a survival horror game about a man in the near future who suffers from daily problems from his many phobias. In an attempt to ease the issue, he underwent an experimental procedure that was supposed to be the needed remedy for his ailments. Instead, it transported him to a dream world full of his worst nightmares. The gameplay features everything players want from a survival horror game. Limited resources and weaponry, medical supplies are scarce, puzzles regularly slow your progression, and of course the many haunting monsters you must overcome by any means necessary. In Narin, the Orange Room is a third-person survival horror game where you play as a young 7th-grade girl whose sister mysteriously disappears. In an attempt to locate her, Narin found herself transported to a terrifying supernatural dimension. While you fight for your survival against the many beasts who lurk within, you begin to find clues that can unravel what happened to your sister. Cryospace is an isometric survival horror title where you play as a regular maintenance worker on an isolated space shuttle. While the other passengers are locked in a deep cryo sleep, your job is to ensure that the shuttle is kept in good quality so that everyone can make it to the set destination safely. Unfortunately, things don't go as planned as a mysterious alien species begins to take over your vessel. Your new #1 priority is to survive and help whatever frozen colonists that you can. Yes, as in Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the game, the movie, but now in a video game form. This is the world we live in now. In the game, you'll be playing 3v7, 3 players will be the Klowns and try to take over Crescent Cove by taking out its citizens in wacky ways and with insane weapons. Or, you can be the humans, and work together to find the supplies to not just fight off capture, but ensure the invasion doesn't happen at all. Will you be able to save Crescent Cove? Or will you ensure its complete destruction? Wait for the game to come out and find out. If State of Decay 3 is anything like past installments, it'll satisfy a specific subset of survival horror fans. The core gameplay loop involves building out a community through recruiting new survivors. This survivor system is integral to success. Each survivor has its own set of skills, which is crucial to keeping them alive. If someone dies, they're gone for good. If an entire community dies, you must start a new game. Targeting the Xbox Series X and S, we can likely expect State of Decay 3 to feature a larger world with more complex survivor interactions and systems. When it comes to horror games, there can never be too many Lovecraftian-inspired works. Eresys is just that, but also has a focus on cooperative gameplay. Together with up to 3 of your fellow cultist friends must send the monsters that a scorned member of your order unleashed on the world. The game features many unique mechanics, such as a smart learning AI that will see the Lovecraftian monsters slowly learn from your behaviors. Be careful, at any time an unexpected event can occur that could have dire consequences. Is that shiny coin you see worth picking up? Or will it unleash a new horror on you?
Don't let them get inside, compare.
Alone in the Dark is a cult classic horror series that's been dormant since 2015 at the despair of many of its fans. Those fans are finally in for a treat, however, since at the most recent THQ Nordic Showcase a reimagining of the original game was announced. It's taking the overall plot, characters, and gameplay concepts as the original 1992 release but reconstructed in a modern way. It looks very similar to the Resident Evil 2 remake, but instead of trying to survive a horrific virus outbreak, you'll be investigating haunted houses full of supernatural terrors. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl takes place in the Chernobyl execution zone post-nuclear disaster. Decades later, radiation is still significant enough to cause harm. In this particular franchise, the radiation has led to the appearance of mutated creatures, which is where the horror elements come in. Utilizing Unreal Engine 5, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2's non-linear story should offer the tension and thrills players expect from survival games. A multiplayer mode is also coming post-launch as a free update, which is always appreciated.
Удачной охоты, Сталкер.
Rondus looks to be a decent excursion for fans of janky, low-budget horror games. This story-driven third-person survival horror takes place in a completely explorable abandoned town. According to the developers, its open world and quest design takes inspiration from Dark Souls. Delusional Studio Limited also cites Silent Hill and Resident Evil as major inspirations with regard to its story, atmosphere, and gameplay mechanics. As a nod to older games, Rondus is developed with a 4:3 aspect ratio in mind. With that said, there will also be a 16:9 option.
Last night I woke up to a nightmare. I was missing a week. What had happened to me?
Alan Wake dabbled with horror conventions, but it was primarily a shooter. If Remedy Entertainment is to be believed, however, Alan Wake 2 is delving into full-blown survival horror territory. Considering the studio's penchant for oddball characters and atmosphere, we're confident that this promise can be realized while telling a compelling story. Remedy has also never created a lackluster combat system, meaning we should expect a mechanically satisfying survival horror game come 2023. Deathground is most noteworthy for its inclusion of dinosaurs, which are pure nightmare fuel. Despite how terrifying these extinct creatures can be, they're often used as fodder for traditional shooters. Even the venerable Dino Crisis franchise pivoted toward action by its second installment. Deathground includes solo and cooperative modes, along with some procedural systems for replayability. Unpredictable elements such as weather, spawn points, and dynamic objectives are meant to keep players revisiting the game. This first-person psychological horror games takes cues from titles like the controversial Shell-Shock series. Ad Infinitum places you in the role of a German soldier during the First World War. Subject matter such as PTSD is explored through a horror game lens, with delusions and flashbacks featuring horrific creatures and unexplainable occurrences. It'll be interesting to see whether this perspective can offer a satisfying horror game, along with proper representation of World War I's realities. Slitterhead turned heads with eerie creatures that reminded people of games like Silent Hill and Siren. This is no accident, considering Decay Game Studio is headed by Keiichiro Toyama, who served as director and writer on the original Silent Hill. Toyama also filled the same roles on Siren, Forbidden Siren 2, and Siren Blood Curse. Despite this lineage, Decay Game Studio is broadening its horizons with Slitterhead. It isn't a pure horror game, seeing as the team wants to pull in players that don't typically engage with the genre. Regardless, Slitterhead's reveal had enough style to excite horror fans. Dead Space's dismemberment system was its claim to fame. Players could orient their weapons to slice off specific body parts, incapacitating foes in the process. Dead Space also featured a minimalistic UI, with crucial information such as health and ammo communicated in-world. Unlike some other remakes, Motive Studios' effort seems to be as faithful as possible. The largest changes come in the form of its visuals and audio design. In particular, the overhauled soundscape, including properties such as obstruction and occlusion, can elevate an already great horror game. Resident Evil 4 is one of the most iconic and influential games of all time. Without Resident Evil 4, games like Dead Space might never have existed. Its over-the-shoulder camera even became the standard for third-person shooters moving forward. With a heavier emphasis on the horror elements, modern rendering features, and more advanced AI, the Resident Evil 4 remake could become a new gold standard for the genre. We have come to the end of our video. I hope you liked this list we prepared for you. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video. Bye for now, see you in our next video.